after billions of dollars in subsidies, a new report out saying that biofuel ethanol is doing more harm to the environment than it's helping the environment. From the pollution caused by plowing up millions of acres to plant the corn to make it, to tainted water supplies from the extra fertilizer needed to grow it. So, Steve, you say there's another case of the green agenda backfiring.
Yes, David, when you don't rely on market forces, i.e. free people making free choices, this is what you get. And you look at Germany and Denmark, for example, their electricity rates are 3 times our own, which is why manufacturers and chemical companies are coming back to this country. And again, it's a political payoff. When you see green, you should see red in anger, and red ink.
And Rick, we did this segment just for you because this is a bipartisan issue. There are almost as many Republicans who were in favor of these ethanol supports and Democrats.
Yeah.
You did this just for me. I am touched. I truly am. Look, I mean, you got to be careful. I have never been a big fan of ethanol, and I don't think it's news that there are problems with it. Also, how it affects food prices. But there's no upside in lumping it in with all renewable fuels. I understand that you guys have problems with government subsidies for these things, different conversation. But who can be against renewable fuels? It's just a good thing. You may not like how we're paying for it, but it's you just can't mix that.
Well, you ask who. I think Mike Ozanian is one who is against these renewable. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and you know what? For me, it's even personal. This has basically been a large kickback to farmers, David, which is why Steve will never win Iowa. But I'll tell you this, for me, it's even more personal. This stuff is terrible for engines. It destroyed my snowblower engine. It destroyed my lawnmower engine. I mean, you know, how am I supposed to do all my yard work?
It is personal for you. Sabrina, by the way, nothing against farmers, and usually the farmers that get the most supports are these big corporate farms, not the small guys, right?
So the big industrial farms, and it's no surprise, you know how much? It takes 450 pounds of corn in order to make enough ethanol to fill one single SUV tank of gas. I mean, that's hardly efficient, and to Mike's point, it is really highly corrosive. It has to be transported by wheel or rail, not through the pipeline, which is not so environmentally friendly and very cost inefficient.
So, Bill, is this just proof that this green agenda, and again, Republicans were a part of it, but the Obama administration has doubled or tripled it, it doesn't work?
I think we agree, all of us, that corn ethanol is a total scam on all fronts. But most green energy projects have only one really big flaw. An example, that $1 billion solar farm in California is an economic disaster. Biodiesel, if it ever caught on, would destroy what's left of the rainforest. And of course, windmills are an eyesore.
But the point, go ahead, Sabrina, go ahead.
Well, there's always some unintended consequences, right? Look about the fuel efficiency standards. As a result of these, Ford made cars with a lighter aluminum, made the cars lighter, but also less safe. So I think so often we're like, great, green energy, but then there's the serious unintended consequences.
And Steve, Australia, I know it's kind of a strange thing to bring in right now, but Australia just had a huge change in government. They went from one government that supported all these carbon fuel taxes and everything that were supposed to help the environment, didn't really help things that much in Australia, and they just threw the guys out, and there was a huge political change as a result. Could the same thing happen here?
It's going to be part of it, David. By the way, I like Australia because I have a son-in-law from Australia, and so far
we all like Australia. What's not to like about Australia?
And he's a doctor and gives me free advice right now.
Do you give him and they use a lot of carbon fuels on the Barbie, by the way.
In terms of clean fuel, we already have it. It's called natural gas, which, no surprise, the Greens are opposed to.
Well, what about that, Rick? I mean, shouldn't the Greens be supporting wholeheartedly natural gas as the answer here?
Well, I think it is an answer. I have to say I have more questions than answers. I want to know if I can get a solar-powered mower, will Mike come over and cut my grass? And I also want to know if Steve gives his son-in-law autographed books.
By the way, I think judging from the laughter of Mike Ozanian, he's not going to be cutting your grass anytime soon. That's got to be the end. Coming up, before you go out shopping this holiday season,